Mike Tyson, people would talk to. There's certain people that are just crazy, man.
Well, these people that think that he don't stand a chance against Jake Paul, they're like, this even like because he's too old. I was like, I think you're crazy.
Joe Rogan has forced Mike Tyson to cancel his upcoming fight with Jake Paul. Many boxing experts and analysts have voiced worries about Mike Tyson's safety, given the 31-year age difference between him and his opponent. While Tyson may still possess formidable punching power, concerns revolve around his potentially diminished reflexes compared to the younger former Disney star, raising the risk of a serious injury for the legendary fighter. However, Tyson recently warned Jake, saying, "I started Jake off and I'm going to finish him." But Jake is not afraid of it, as he said, "It's an honor to get in the ring with Mike Tyson. I'm so honored. You're a legend, but I'm going to take your throne, brother." But don't forget Tyson's recurring sciatica problems, which intermittently flare up, and it paints a troubling picture for him. Yet, the notion of the baddest man on the planet achieving a stunning victory over the problem child isn't entirely out of reach. So, what's Tyson's strategy for this upcoming battle? Embracing positive visualization, though in this scenario, it's more of a grim vision. Mike Tyson has kicked off the countdown for Jake Paul's much-anticipated wake-up call, scheduled for November 15th. Starting on August 6th, 2024, Tyson's clock is ticking down the 101 days until their 8-round heavyweight showdown. He posted a screenshot on his Instagram story, captioning it with, "Jake Paul can't wait." In response, Paul took to his own Instagram story, sharing flushed face emojis that hint at a mix of excitement and trepidation about the upcoming match. Before facing Jake Paul in the squared circle, Mike Tyson disclosed his wish to undergo a hallucinogenic experience. Tyson's fascination with psychedelics is widely recognized. It's said that he has experimented with these substances nearly 100 times. Before making his comeback to the ring, Tyson expressed a desire for a profound spiritual journey. In an interview with Esquire magazine, he revealed his intention to take a compound extracted from the venom of the Sonoran desert toad in hopes of embarking on a transformative experience to connect with a higher power. He was even seen consuming 4 grams of mushrooms on Logan Paul's podcast, Impulsive, in 2020. Talking about its positive influence, Tyson said, "It makes you pretty objective for what's really going on, and mushrooms really tell you that you're nothing. Even the mushrooms in the daytime you take in, and the earth starts moving. You look at the ground, it's moving. You look at the plants and the trees, they're moving, they're doing something. It's absolutely insane." The impact of Mike Tyson's planned psychedelic journey on his upcoming fight with Jake Paul remains to be seen. It could potentially trigger Tyson's legendary "I'm Alexander" mindset, enhancing his ability to score a knockout and add Paul to his illustrious KO record. When Jake Paul fights Mike Tyson in the boxing ring in November, he expects a scary and violent battle. Asked about if he's going to try to knock Tyson out by barber Vic Collins on his Deep Cut YouTube channel, Paul said, "Yeah, 100%. I mean, if he has the opportunity to do it to me, then he's going to take it. He doesn't give a fuck about me. I'm sure he likes me, but at the end of the day, when the bell rings and we're in a real pro fight in front of 80,000 people, if you think for 1 second that Mike Tyson's not trying to rip my head off, you're crazy." Paul further added, "You don't play boxing, I'm not in there to mess around." And that's what he wanted. And so if that's what the legend wants, and he wants to end me in a vicious way, then I'm going in there with that same mindset and I want to be tested. I know that's going to happen. It's not going to be easy. Paul, however, predicts that it will be violent for the distance, and doesn't think either man will be finished when they square off in the circle. He added, "And I don't see a world where I knock him out or he knocks me out. I think it's going to be violent the whole way through. I think there's going to be a lot of close rounds, and I think it's just going to come down to on the night who wants it more." Paul also noted that while Iron Mike has the advantage in a number of areas, he'll be able to capitalize in areas where he feels stronger. He went on, "In terms of experience and power and weight, he has the advantage, but in terms of youth, speed, and I guess my footwork, being on the outside, my athleticism currently, I have the advantage. So to me, it's really an even matchup, and that's scary but also exciting at the same time." Often hailed as one of the greatest heavyweight boxers in history, Tyson cemented his status as undisputed champion by successfully defending his WBA and WBC titles and capturing the IBF belt with a unanimous decision victory over Tony Tucker in August 1987. He would go on to defend his titles 6 times before being unexpectedly defeated by Buster Douglas in 1990. Following 2 decades of fierce battles against notable opponents such as Frank Bruno, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, and Michael Spinks, Tyson concluded his professional career in 2005 with an impressive record of 50 wins and 6 losses, including 44 knockouts. His final appearance in the ring was a 2020 exhibition exhibition match against Roy Jones Jr., which ended in a split draw after 8 rounds. Carl Froch, meanwhile, recently claimed in an interview that Tyson is too old to be in the ring. Jake was also attacked by former middleweight world boxing champion Froch, who referred to the YouTuber-turned-boxer as that much of a bit, and said that people were irritated by him because he had only faced opponents who were considerably lighter than him. He was also questioned on remarks he made regarding Paul's wish for Tyson's fight to still be on his career record. Froch said, "That's just to create more of a fucking stir. That's just to piss more people off. My only beef with Jake Paul is that he can't really fight. He's not a professional boxer. He's not even in shape. He looks fleshy. He's got a layer over him. He doesn't look chiseled, and I don't know if he takes the training seriously." Froch further added, "When Paul has got a 2 or 3 stone weight advantage on these guys he's fought so far, it's a mismatch. It's unfair. He's got an unfair advantage when he fights. He's that much of a bitch. He makes it so he's so much heavier than his opponent. He's got such an advantage." Tyson has competed in the heavyweight division at around 220 pounds, where weight limits are not imposed, whereas Paul has fought in the cruiserweight class at approximately 200 pounds. Before the fight was postponed, Paul reportedly planned to bulk up to 240 pounds, intending to cut down to his fight weight later. Following his last professional match in 2005, the 58-year-old former undisputed champion revealed to his fans that he had lost his fighting spirit and edge. George Foreman, who retired from boxing a decade ago, only to return and claim a world title at 45, certainly knows a thing or two about comebacks. When NY Fight suggested to the legendary Big George that Tyson should still be able to drop and stop Paul even at his current age, Foreman offered a clear and thoughtful response. He said, "Jake Paul is no pushover, and he is not afraid of any of these guys. Time is on his side. So happy for Mike Tyson. He needed this excitement in his life. Everyone is talking about it. Answer to your question, no." In a different piece for USA Today, Foreman admonished Tyson while still praising the younger boxer. He said, "Be careful with Paul, only because Paul has tricks. Tyson gets hit with one punch at his age. You start to hear funny noises." Tyson and Paul will fight in 8 2-minute rounds while donning 16-ounce gloves, a first for the sport. Without a doubt, Tyson's wealth of experience eclipses Paul's, highlighted by his formidable punching power at the height of his career, which propelled him to the top of the boxing world as the undisputed champion. His training videos frequently revealed glimpses of his fearsome strength. In contrast, Paul has claimed that he will deliver the knockout punch and suggested that his own power could match that of the legendary fighter. He mentioned, "I know I will be able to. I'm a natural-born heavyweight. This is what I was born to do. Move up into this weight class and show Mike who has more power because he is underestimating me, and I believe I hit harder." Paul further added, "I know it's going to be tough. I know I'm going to have to fight through adversity. I know I might even go to the canvas. I'm scared, don't get me wrong. But it's not about the fear stopping me. It's about going into it even though I am scared. That is what true bravery is." Tom Aspinall's recent comments on Jake Paul have caught many by surprise with their unexpected depth. Following his impressive win against Curtis Blades at UFC 304, the British fighter is now eyeing a matchup with Jon Jones. As he waits for his upcoming title opportunity, Aspinall has turned his attention to Jake Paul, joined by Carl Cobra Froch, who has also expressed a notable interest in the contentious boxer. Aspinall, however, provided the 4-time world champion with additional insights. Listen to his thoughts on the matter. On the show, Honey Badger had an energetic chat with the former unified IBF and WBA super middleweight champion, covering a range of topics including the UFC. The discussion turned to the problem child, and Froch voiced his enthusiasm for a potential bout with him. Aspinall said, "If you want my honest opinion, I think you are above that. I don't think you should not fight Jake Paul." When Froch implied that there was a lot of money in it, the interim heavyweight champion of the UFC comforted him by stating that he already has wealth. Froch then said, "And I won't want to get punched in the head by anybody who would seriously punch because my health is more important. But I just think Jake Paul is an easy workmate." At this point, Aspinall acknowledged that while Paul could be better than he first thought, he still falls short when measured against a world champion boxer. He said, "In all honesty, he is better than I originally thought, but if you compare him to like an actual boxing world champion." Aspinall, however, warned Mike Tyson about the dangers of his upcoming fight with Jake Paul, seeing it as a major gamble. With Tyson approaching 60 and Paul being only 27, the age difference alone poses a significant challenge. Concerns grew when the match was postponed due to Tyson suffering an ulcer flare-up mere weeks before the fight. Interestingly, despite his caution, Aspinall had praised Jake back in 2022. Let's revisit that moment. The former Disney star has ventured into the world of boxing, securing wins in most of his bouts. This unexpected career shift has generated significant chatter within the combat sports world, catching the eye of prominent fighters like Tom Aspinall. Recently, however, Aspinall's opinion of Paul has taken a turn, causing him to doubt Paul's authenticity as a genuine boxer. This is a stark contrast to Aspinall's praise for the star back in 2022. He said, "I think what he has done for me, I can't help but be impressed by that. Like, I think it's good. And I like the way might be controversial, but I quite like the way he carries himself. If it's not for me, I wouldn't do that. But he and I are different people, so I like it. On the flip side, he's tapping into the boxing arena where Paul shines. For UFC 304, he took an unorthodox approach by waking up at 4 a.m. to align his body clock with the event's timing. During an interview on MMA Hour, he shared that his early morning ritual involved shadowboxing among hay bales. Furthermore, he soaked his hands in petrol for 20 minutes, intending to harden his knuckles. Mike Perry and Nate Diaz have recently joined the ranks of MMA fighters who have fallen to Jake Paul in the boxing ring. Last year, Paul faced Diaz, a tough and seasoned competitor from Stockton. Despite Diaz proving to be one of Paul's most formidable opponents, he was unable to secure victory, losing by unanimous decision. The problem child then squared off against professional boxers Andre August and Ryan Borland, both of whom entered the ring as clear underdogs. Yet their fates were sealed in the same manner, both suffering first-round knockouts. Perry, on the other hand, was knocked down several times before the referee halted the fight in the 5th round. Now, the two former UFC fighters have turned their attention to the upcoming Tyson bout, but their predictions for the outcome couldn't be more different. Speaking on Paul's podcast, Perry believes that his former opponent's youth will be the deciding factor on fight night. But when Inside Fighting asked Diaz to forecast the outcome, he adamantly maintained that the legendary boxer would prevail.
Nate, what do you give you there? Doc tag? What is that?
That's the soldiers, baby. You already know what's up.
Soldiers. Nice. From Charles Rosa, UFC veteran. Hey. Real quick. Everyone wants to know your take, man. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. Who you got?
No, Mike Tyson.
However, Mike Tyson has been cautioned about the potential for a catastrophic result in his upcoming boxing match against Paul. The much-anticipated showdown between the 58-year-old former world champion and the 27-year-old Paul has ignited a storm of controversy since its announcement. Tyson is gearing up for a highly anticipated return to the ring this November. Yet, as the event draws near, the legendary boxer's prospects look increasingly bleak. Many key voices in the boxing world are voicing doubts about his ability to perform at the level he once did. Among them, fitness expert Dave Hancock, renowned for his work with Chelsea, Leeds, and the England national team, has highlighted serious medical risks associated with the bout. Looking from the outside, Mike Tyson's comeback is purely money-driven, he said, speaking to OLBG. He added, "If someone's going to offer you X to do Y, you can make a decision whether to do that or not at any age. So therefore, your incentive is cash. Therefore, you will be prepared to put your body on the line in those circumstances in that sport, because you know the reward is the cash." After Tyson pulled out of the bout, Paul brought in bare-knuckle boxing champion Mike Perry as a replacement and knocked him out decisively. Following the victory, Paul reached out to Tyson, urging him to sign the contract for their November match. He added, "Mike, I love you, but this is my sport. You're a legend. You're one of the two most famous boxers ever to live, you and Ali. It's an honor to get in the ring with you. I'm so honored. You're a legend, but I'm going to take your throne, brother." Even though Mike Tyson is 31 years older than YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul, the legend isn't scared to take on the man in their eagerly anticipated match this autumn. Tyson said, "I don't think he can hurt me." Tyson shared how friends and family repeatedly cautioned him about the dangers of facing Paul, yet he remains resolute, seeing no room for debate. "I'm a glory junkie. I love people thinking about me all day," Tyson told the outlet in an interview that took place just days before he suffered a medical emergency on a flight. He added, "I'd rather live a short life of glory than a long life of obscurity. It's just who I am. This is all I started fighting for. To get all this status, I'm going to be chasing it for the rest of my life. I know that. I'm never going to get what I want because I'm one of those gluttons for pain. I can never get enough." Joe Rogan has expressed concerns over the potential dangers of Mike Tyson's fight with Jake Paul, particularly given the significant age difference between the two. As soon as the matchup was announced, boxing enthusiasts were alarmed by the prospect of Tyson, who will be 31 years Paul's senior, stepping into the ring with him. Rogan's apprehensions about a worst-case scenario became more pronounced before the bout was officially confirmed as a professional fight. At that point, Rogan remarked that the bout between Tyson and Paul was still unconfirmed and might face disapproval, particularly if there was considerable public resistance. He pointed out the possible risks, including the possibility that a tragic event, such as Tyson's death, could ultimately derail the fight.
Like, that's crazy.
If Tyson dies, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. See, if you have something like that, if you have, look, if
That'd
this,
be the end of the.
right.
Yeah, that'd be the end of
Crazy.
that experiment.
Let's imagine it in a different way, right? Let's not imagine that Mike Tyson is fighting Jake Paul. Let's imagine Mike Tyson is fighting some young, like really powerful knockout artist who's a contender. Well, guess what? Jake Paul could be that guy if we didn't think of him as Jake Paul. If you look at the people he knocks dead, when he knocked dead Tyron Woodley with one punch, that dude
I was there.
Fucking crack.
Yeah, I was. I mean, honestly, so like that's what I'm saying. Exactly what you're saying. we don't want to give him credit because it's Jake Paul.
Exactly.
But we gotta wake up and realize that he's still 27, young.
Despite Rogan's deep worries about Tyson's health, he still believes there's a possibility that Iron Mike could defy the odds and decisively defeat Paul. The UFC commentator pointed out that if Tyson managed to recover 70% of his previous abilities, it would present a formidable challenge for Paul, particularly facing 90% of Tyson's formidable strength. Rogan highlighted that Tyson's punching power was still very much alive, as demonstrated by his performance on the heavy bag.
Oh man,
That's terrifying. And that's what happened. It ignited that thing inside of him.
Was when he came back for the Roy Jones. It was two different interviews. Like
Two different
when you
humans.
saw him, yeah, 100%. I agree
Jamie was
with
the
you.
first one to say it's like a totally different person.
Yeah, he was way more intense. You
Way
know
more
what I mean?
terrifying. Probably.
And you can imagine
supplemented
he's
up
going to
with
be
all
in that,
those
in that mindset.
Anastroms,
Yeah,
Damascenes.
how you say him again?
And Asterol.
You gotta be in that mindset though when you're
Yeah.
getting ready to fight. Though you're in a different mindset.
The
when you know
thing
you're not
is,
fighting.
if he's physically capable of recapturing 70% of what he used to do, just dealing with that with probably 90% of the power. 70% of the physical ability and 90% of the power, because the power's not gone. You see it when he hits a bag.
Yeah, he's
You
still
see-
got the power.
The power's there, 100%. But he's had a bunch of back issues. He had real
Yeah,
bad
he was
sciatica.
having problems walking and
He's
stuff.
walking
I saw
with a
him with a cane. Yeah.
So, but who knows what they've done? Stem cells. I'm sure he's with the right people.
Rogan noted that Tyson had been grappling with serious back problems, including intense sciatica, which had forced him to use a cane for walking. Despite this, Rogan speculated that advancements in stem cell therapy might have provided Tyson with some relief, especially if he had access to top-notch specialists. Rogan was impressed by the fact that Tyson, even at 58, could still potentially earn a substantial income if he managed to stay in peak condition.
Even at 57, you can make a lot of money if Mike Tyson's fit and in shape, which is so crazy to say. It's just weird that we're even talking about
Right.
it.
100%.
That the fucking guy from Disney is going to fight Mike Tyson, the YouTube kid.
Yeah, I
I
know.
mean, and the path to beat Mike was long dudes that had a good jab later in his career when he wasn't moving his head anymore. So I don't know if Jake can keep Mike off with his jab.
We're going to see.
Yeah, right.
but
if
Jake
it
will
happens.
grab him and
Yeah,
you know
he's-
wrangle.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's what he does good.
Well,
like
you
he
can
wrangles
imagine
guys.
they're gonna, Tyson's people are going to be in the back saying, "Don't let him,
Yeah.
wrestle us."
On another podcast, Joe Rogan shared his thoughts on Mike Tyson's intense preoccupation with Jake Paul, suggesting that Tyson views his opponent merely as prey. Despite his age, Tyson is preparing for a highly anticipated return to the boxing ring, set to face Jake Paul later this year. The match has elicited mixed reactions from fans, primarily because of the notable age difference. But the chance to see a fighter once known as the baddest man on the planet make a comeback has generated widespread intrigue. As Mike Tyson's comeback dominates the spotlight, Joe Rogan has taken the opportunity to praise Jake Paul. Rogan noted that despite past doubts, Jake Paul has proven himself as a genuine boxer. He suggested that if Jake Paul were not also a YouTuber and had only been judged by his performances in the ring, where he's knocked out former UFC champions, triumphed over seasoned boxers, and bested a range of athletes and MMA fighters, his boxing prowess would be widely acknowledged. Rogan recounted the sheer terror Mike Tyson instilled in the boxing ring during his prime years. He found it almost inconceivable that Jake Paul could hold his own against Tyson, who had delivered a devastating performance against Marvis Frazier. Rogan emphasized Tyson's dominance, praising his unmatched speed, agility, and technical prowess that made him nearly invincible. He declared Tyson the greatest heavyweight ever, asserting that no other fighter he's witnessed has surpassed Tyson's peak. Although Tyson may not be at his peak now, Rogan acknowledged that he still commands respect as a formidable and intimidating presence in the heavyweight division.
People mocked me when I was saying that before, but now I think people are coming around. And the way I look at it, I say if this kid was not a YouTuber, if he wasn't some guy that you knew from the time he was like 16 years old on YouTube, and you just saw him box, and you saw him knock out former UFC champions, you saw him beat legitimate boxers, or beat athletes, and beat a bunch of MMA fighters, you'd go, this kid can fight. He knows how to fight. Like, it's not, nothing he's doing looks wrong. He's not like sticking his head straight up in the air and winging punches with his eyes closed. He's fighting well. He looks good. And if he was just an up-and-coming boxer that was this exciting, like highly promotable, like really good at selling fights, you'd be like, this kid's the future. There's not a fucking chance in hell that Jake Paul would survive against the Mike Tyson that beat Marvis Frazier. You ever watch that fight?
Yeah.
That's my favorite Mike Tyson fight because that was Mike Tyson before he won the title. It was ABC Wide World of Sports, and Joe Frazier had been talking about Tyson, that if he was in his prime, he'd beat Tyson. And so he had his son fight Tyson, and it was an execution. It was an execution.
Later on, Joe Rogan delved into Mike Tyson's comments about Jake Paul and explored the elite mindset of the former heavyweight champ. Rogan characterized Tyson's mentality as one of intense war readiness. Tyson had previously mentioned consuming raw meat as part of his fight preparation, metaphorically depicting his rivals as raw meat. Rogan highlighted that Tyson was operating in a god of war and savage state, implying that Jake Paul would naturally be daunted by such a formidable presence.
Mike Tyson's mind has switched over into war. Like, he was doing this interview, and someone said to him, he goes, you look like you're in your 20s. Like, what are you doing? He goes, I just eat raw meat. He's like, I'm eating raw meat. He goes, you're eating raw meat? He goes, yeah, I'm eating raw meat. He goes, because that's what I'm going to eat when I fight. I'm going to eat him. It's raw meat.
Yeah,
I was like, Jesus Christ. He's in this fucking mode. He's in that God of War mode. And that he's still got that in him. And I'm telling you, if you keep giving that guy hormones and you keep giving that guy supplements and he's constantly training, look at this.
What are you eating? Raw meat. Like, seriously, Mike. You're eating raw meat? Are you swallowing it? Or remember you used to spit that stuff out?
I'm going to have to eat it now because my opponent's going to be raw meat.
That's right. Do you look like 20 years old?
Rogan expressed his keen interest in seeing how the bout between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul unfolds. He highlighted that the fight is expected to draw substantial attention, with Tyson's involvement likely amplifying viewer interest even further. He remarked that while Jake Paul's fights generally attract a crowd, this particular matchup with Tyson is poised to captivate an even larger audience. He noted that seasoned fans are particularly excited to witness Tyson's performance and are hoping for a full-throttle effort. Rogan anticipated that the fight would be a true test of skill and not merely a showcase, given its implications for their professional records. Aside from Muhammad Ali, few figures are as closely associated with boxing as Mike Tyson. The 5'8" powerhouse from Brooklyn struck fear into his adversaries and earned the title of the youngest heavyweight champion ever. So, what was the secret behind Tyson's dominance? According to Joe Rogan, there are several factors that contributed to Iron Mike's legendary status. Joe Rogan said that Tyson's rise to prominence in boxing can be attributed not just to his talent, but also to the unique combination of circumstances and influential figures around him. Mike Tyson's childhood is well documented as being far from ideal, marked by his upbringing in the crime-ridden streets of Bedford-Stuyvesant in Brooklyn. This neighborhood was so troubled that even now, statistics reveal its crime rate exceeds the national average in the U.S. by 24%, with a significant portion of these incidents being violent offenses. Joe Rogan told guest Chad Daniels on the JRE podcast that Tyson had a profoundly difficult upbringing. He described it as being marred by crime and violence in one of the worst neighborhoods in Brooklyn, specifically Bed-Stuy.
First of all, there was his upbringing, right? So he had a horrible, horrible upbringing.
Okay.
Just crime and violence in the worst neighborhood in Brooklyn. He lived in Bed-Stuy, right? So Brownsville, I think, originally in Bed-Stuy. Terrible neighborhoods, real bad. You know, a lot of crime, a lot of violence. And then at 13 years of age,
Mike Tyson's fortunes changed dramatically when Cus D'Amato entered his life. After choosing to take Tyson under his wing, D'Amato spared no effort in transforming the already physically gifted Iron Mike into a legendary boxer. He employed a range of psychological techniques to refine Tyson's potential and guide him toward becoming one of the greatest boxers in history.
Adopted by this guy Cus D'Amato, who's one of the greatest boxing minds of all time, and he's also a hypnotist. So from age 13 on, he's hypnotizing Mike and telling Mike he's the greatest of all time. He's the greatest of all time. He's going to be the greatest heavyweight the world has ever seen. And then on top of it, you have crazy genetics. Mike, I had Teddy Atlason. He told me that when Mike was 13, he was knocking out grown men, and they wouldn't believe he was 13. He'd bring him to boxing tournaments. They're like, how old's that kid? He goes, 13. He goes, he's fucking 16. He goes, okay, he's 16. He put him in with the 16-year-olds. He'd knock the 16-year-olds out. Yeah, he was a freak. So you have that sometimes.
Make sure to check out some of our other videos on the screen if you enjoyed this one.